Hello, hello, hello. This is Terry Edwards, Renegade Recruiter. And welcome. Today, my guest is David Shelton. David, thank you very much for joining us.
No worries.
Thank you very much indeed. Before we get into it, David, can you just tell us a bit about your business, what you do, who you serve, please, David?
I set up this business 4 years ago, but I've been in recruitment for 18 years and pretty much done the same sectors for the entire length of that 18-year period. So we're looking at exclusively manufacturing organisations I work with. Tend to concentrate much more on food, FMCG, that type of organisation.
Yeah.
I recruit supply chain, engineering, manufacturing, and warehouse and logistics roles from 30, 35, 40k up to north of six figures.
Yeah. So what would you say the average salary that you recruit at, David?
Probably somewhere in the region of between 50 and 70, 50 and 80, somewhere that sort of patch.
Yeah. Okay. 50, 70, yeah. And you've been in recruitment for 18 years, but you had your own business for 4 years. And what's the name of your business, David?
Thorncroft Search and Selection Limited.
Awesome. And David, when we first reached out to you, and you ignored me, but then you eventually relented. But seriously, what were your reservations about working together?
I think casting my mind back, you approached me probably about 15 months before we actually got together.
Yeah.
And I don't think there was any specific reservations towards you at that time. From memory, I think probably it was, being busy and not really reviewing my business at the time, being flat out, and I dealt with a lot of repeat customers, and I was flat out with those repeat customers, in fairness. I think what happened is when you sort of appeared on one of your videos on LinkedIn, and that happened at the start of lockdown, I'd started thinking about the direction I wanted to take my business in moving forward. I looked and did a bit of a SWOT analysis on that, and I felt my sort of threat to the business and the weakness was reliant on too many relationships and not having enough customers coming through the door.
Mm-hmm.
Which circumstance, which is only to be expected because I wasn't doing enough business development anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think I had any reservations. And when I saw the video, it resonated with me in terms of you were all about sales and marketing with a recruitment end goal. And that I thought was something which probably needed to be looked at, particularly in light of lockdown. There was suddenly, I was a little bit freer in terms of time. I could really look at trying to really concentrate on the business, and you resonated with me in your video. So therefore, I chased you 15 months after originally ignoring you.
Right. All right. So you joined
I saw the light, Terry, eventually.
Eventually. But seriously, you joined us just after lockdown, which is interesting because a lot of recruiters were cutting back, but you were prepared to invest in and look at ways of acquiring new clients. So, share with us what you've seen as being the overall benefits of us working together.
There's a few things. Two things in particular. First thing is recruitment in terms of the sales and marketing function within most recruitment businesses is pretty prehistoric. He's really cold calling and spamming people with CVs and telling people how great you are. Well, there's no differentiation from the crowd. And your tools and techniques that you've shared with me have taught me a lot of things about sales and marketing from a different angle completely, about providing solutions. So I think that is fantastic because I wouldn't have even been here today doing this. I wouldn't have been doing testimonials of my own with my clients. I wouldn't have been on social media. I wouldn't have been on LinkedIn to the extent I am now, and a lot of other media. So the first thing is just basically opening my eyes up to what's out there and actually making me sit up and listen. I was aware of it, just never really took the plunge. But I think the second part of it is, which is probably underestimated, is I wouldn't call peer pressure, but as a one-man band, you can make a decision to do something or not to do something at any given time. When you're actually amongst other like-minded individuals doing the same things, there's some accountability. There is a sense of community, and therefore you're propelled to go and take action, which is what you talk about all the time, obviously, about taking action. So therefore, it's sort of inspired me to go and take the tools and make good use of them, rather than learn, file it away, and never go back to it.
Yeah. So to summarise that, the accountabilities encouraged you to do the things that you kind of knew at a level that you should be doing anyway. But as you said, as being your own boss, not answerable to anybody. So a lot of things that you should be doing don't get done. That's a pretty common statement there.
Development, I think. Just one thing there is business development is, you hear it time and time again, every recruiter hates business development. Well, it's not surprising if they're cold calling all day, and speaking to people who don't want to speak to them. Once you start doing some of the tools, some of the work that we've done, or I've done with you, those calls become actually a lot more enjoyable, because the person at the other end of the phone is semi-expecting you, and if they pick up the phone, the likelihood is that they've probably seen you or know of you. It completely transforms these conversations. I actually enjoy BD now, which is, I didn't think I'd probably ever say that, but I've always been a bit of a BD sort of animal as a necessary evil. But now it's become more enjoyable than it ever has. Yeah.
And tell me, thanks for that. And tell me, from the business point of view, what's been the financial benefit in terms of percentages that you've experienced?
Well, I thought about this before we came on. I was thinking you might ask that question in terms of, obviously, I've only been with you since April the 20-something, which was just after lockdown. So in the cycle of filling a job and then, someone having a notice period and then basically invoicing, the chances are that's outside of the window of what we've been working with. But if I was to explain to you what the successes have been, I've got financially, first off, there's at least 2 roles I've filled, which I wouldn't have filled if I hadn't been involved with you. One with a brand new client, and one with an existing one, but an existing one I've not spoken with for ages. And one of your modules is about obviously making good use of previous relationships. So, I'll put that down to this program. So, we could at least say there is at least probably pushing 20,000 there, which wasn't on the books at the start of April or late April. In terms of other stuff, though, I couldn't put a figure on it, because I've got a diary now, which is just chock-a-block with follow-up calls from the calls I do on a daily basis, 3 months or less, dependent on need. And I'm sure there is a great deal of cash in that Outlook calendar, which is yet to be materialized. Well, let's put it like this, that calendar was blank in April. So I have made probably best about 20. There is a lot of stuff to come in through the future. I haven't got a crystal ball, but I think there's a lot of stuff which I've generated through the work we do on a daily basis and the calls we make from the business development perspective.
Yeah. So if you look forward to sorry to interrupt there, David, but if you look forward to over the next 4 weeks, off the top of your head, how many appointments have you got with hiring managers who are in the market for what you do over the next, say, 8 weeks or so?
I think I've got a lot of calls in there which are follow-up calls. I wouldn't go class that as an appointment, but I'd class it as a follow-up call, which is a touch point, which might be the second or third touch point, and these people are very familiar with me. In terms of actual calls, in terms of appointments, my calendar probably pops up somewhere in the region of, there's probably 3 or 4 calls per week which are pre-booked from a previous call when somebody said I've got someone retiring in September, or I've got or December or whatever. So I think on average at the minute I'm getting 3 or 4 pop-ups a week which are actual hot leads regarding a person who's going to be expecting my call. I can call and say, where are we at with that retirement, or where are we at with the succession plan, or where are we at with X, Y, or Z. So 3 or 4. But I've only been doing this 3 months. It's And my calendar, if you open up every single day, I've got pop-ups coming up, call these 6 or these 7 people because of a great conversation 3 months ago. It's just momentum and volume, and things happen.
Yeah, excellent. So over the next month or so, you've got, what, 8, 12 calls over the next, probably more than 8, but yeah, 12 or so.
More than that, I'd have to check through it. I haven't gone through, I'm not great on keeping KPIs on the wall regarding these appointments, I must admit, but if I was to analyse September and come back to you, I would imagine there's probably going to be anywhere from between 12 and 15, 20 appointments whereby they're about follow-ups on when someone says, call me in September because I might need somebody in January.
Yeah. But on the spot, how does that compare? I'm looking to make comparisons. How does that compare, let's say, with last September in terms of appointments you would have had in your calendar for last?
I wouldn't have had any appointments.
You wouldn't have had any. Yeah.
Oh, no, because, my world revolved around having probably a dozen clients who use me exclusively. Each a dozen use me exclusively, and I knew they would call me when they had a role, because I had such a massively good relationship with these people over years and years. And if I'd not heard from them for a month, I'd probably stick a morning of BD in around existing relationships, and then it would roll on, and I would have at any point in time a lot of roles coming through from that world. But that would be I couldn't forecast on it, not unless I've actually got the roles live and I'm working on them, and you can forecast them. But I can't forecast on something I don't know if the phone's going to ring or not.
No.
So that was part of why I originally came to you, because my concerns were I was making good money, it was going well, the business, but it was, how long's a piece of string? And also, if you're not creating any new relationships, you're only shrinking. So from where I was at, I was doing well, but there was it was underpinned with some uncertainty about the future. Yeah. So there wasn't any appointments in. But now, when you see your calendars full up for 3 months of recurring appointments, or future calls, or people you're going to pick up with, it gives you a nice warm feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. That's great. And there's recruiters listening to this now who are probably thinking about getting some help for their business. What would you say to people like that are kind of sitting on the fence and not sure?
Well, I wouldn't hesitate in I'd be a bit of a hypocrite if I said don't use your Terry, wouldn't I? But in all honesty, and there's a lot to learn from what you're putting out. There's a lot to learn from the sales and marketing. You will not get it unless you go and search for it. And ultimately, you're an example of what you're teaching, aren't you? Because effectively you're putting it out there in terms of the social media and the sales and marketing stuff. And here I am. So I'm an example of somebody who has you've resonated and you've got me. So therefore you can just turn the tables and think about, this is what I'm now doing with my clients.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a no-brainer. And we all know, return on investment and invested in the business. And I thought, you struck a chord with me, so I absolutely recommend you. Of course I do. And I've extended our relationship beyond our initial period as well, which says says something. So yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important that, for me, it was important that I did something and invested in the business, not just work on the business, work in the business, and come out the other side of COVID with some real strength. Yeah. But it doesn't necessarily need a pandemic to go and use Terry Edwards, does it? Because you're going to create huge amounts of new revenue by using these new techniques regardless.
Yeah, good point. David, thank you very much for that. That's very, very much appreciated. That's David Shelton. I really appreciate your feedback on the service that we provide to you. This is Terry Edwards. Until next time, folks, take care, take action, and be relentless. Cheers, David. Bye.
Cheers. Thanks, Terry.